welcome to another episode of the Epiphanies with Erica podcast. Woo-hoo! So excited. Listen, you guys, I have one of my favorites up on here today. She is just a ray of sunshine. You can tell by the yellow behind her. She just spouts off positive energy, and I love everything about her. The amazing Taisha Presley is here today. How are you, Taisha?
Good, girl. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation, because I had to have you on. I love everything that you do, everything that you stand for. I love your message. You're so unique and just amazing. And you guys are going to see how amazing she is today.
Oh, girl. Don't make me blush up in here.
You already know how I feel about you. Okay, you guys. Taisha, I want you to actually introduce yourself, who you are, your company, your unique message, who you're called to serve, all that goodness.
Yeah. So I'm Taisha, but I go by Ty Presley, and I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am a licensed mental health therapist and a certified rehabilitation counselor. I work with all the things trauma, all the things dysfunction. So I work with people that want to kind of what we call break generational curses. So they grew up in dysfunctional childhood upbringings, and they are like, look, this does not work for me anymore. Like what my past was, how I was raised, my mama, my daddy, uncle, auntie, all of it was trashed. Exactly. It no longer works for me. It no longer serves me. And I need to learn how to what I call rehabilitate my life. And so I help people recover from their childhood upbringings. And I do it because I had to do it for myself, and still am doing it for myself with the help of God, of course. So it is, I love the work that I do. It is exciting. Every single day it's something new. And I love it. I love my purpose and my calling.
That's so amazing. I love that you are so grounded in your calling and in your purpose. Like you are in there. You are doing it. Everything you do is so intentional and in line with that purpose. Like the way you present yourself, the way you are as a person, it's very much in line with what you feel called and led to do. And I think that's so amazing when we can truly like attach ourselves to that mission of our unique thing, whatever that is. And it's just all over you. You just exude it.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier about our business coach, Otesia, right? And how she always says that God does not waste experiences. He just does not. And so that is like my life. Like it's funny that you say that it's just a part of me, because it really is. Because I've had to live out everything that I do with my clients, everything that I do with people, I had to live it out myself, and I'm still living it out in certain degrees and certain levels. And so you see it because I had to live it, and I'm still living it. So that's what you see.
That's awesome.
And to me, I love it because I feel like I tell people all the time, if you see me, you should be hopeful. Like I should just be like your mirror, a mirror of hope. Because if I could get past the childhood that I had, anybody can. So yes.
I love that. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. Number one, I can't get past your t-shirt. It's just like striking. The message is so bold. Tell us about that.
So I wrote a journal a year ago. This is it. This is the cover of it. And it's called Hello Body, Do You Hear Me Now? And it kind of just incorporates a lot of the work that I did with myself to kind of get my body image back together. And this is just coming from a lot of like just being overweight most of my life, then losing the weight, and then losing the weight and like I still don't like my body. Like what's really going on here? And so just kind of recovering from other people's opinions and thoughts of me so that I can have my own thoughts of myself And so I have a line of t-shirts based on the journals. It's like affirmations, body positive, body neutral affirmations. And one of them, it says, I am my own beauty standard.
Come on.
And I love it because a lot of times, especially on social media, we're scrolling, especially because we're all COVID out it, right? We're all quarantining. And so we have no choice but to be on social media now. And so we're all on social media. And what starts to happen? We are comparing ourselves, our bodies to the images that we see on social media. And a lot of times the images that we see on social media are not even real. Mm-hmm. They're not even real. Sometimes they have filters on them. Sometimes the bodies themselves have been altered. And we are comparing our body, our real normal bodies, to this image that is just an unrealistic standard. And so we start to hate on ourselves when really we need to look at ourselves and say, wait a minute, that standard is for them. And I can be my own beauty standard. And then if you say, you know what, I'm comparing apples to oranges because your purpose, your body is all about you and mine is all about me. And so then you get to be your own standard. So that's where the shirt comes from. I am my own beauty standard, baby girl.
I love that. And it's so liberating. That message is so liberating. Like, it makes you feel confident in being your own self. Like, accepting your own body for what it is. And understanding that you have the power. You are empowered to change whatever if you want to. So I love it.
Yes.
Ask you, Taisha. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to ask you this. The name of your company, Legacy Empowerment Services. Mm-hmm. Why was that name important to you?
Yeah, I love how I got the name of my company. So I was in this church, and we would have, at the church that I went to, we would have times around, like, I call it family time. And so during our family times, one of the things that my pastors at the time said was that every decision that you make today affects the next 5 generations that come after you. And so that came from, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called the 7th generation principle. And so I took that, I kind of researched it, and I looked into it, and it started like ringing my heart, ringing my spirit about how what we do today affects like thousands of people and hundreds of people. And so I started thinking about trauma, my own past, right? And I started saying, you know what? I want to help people to recover their life, to recover their family's legacy. And so it came to me, it was like legacy, empowerment, services, because my job, my mission, my mandate, my purpose here on earth is redemption. That is my purpose. Everything that I do with anybody, whenever I have a conversation with anyone, my purpose is, it usually almost always is about redemption in some form, some fashion. And so I took that into the business, and I just said, let's rehabilitate family legacies. Let's take these negative family legacies of trauma, of dysfunction, alcoholism, abuse, and all of that craziness, and let's rehabilitate it. Let's empower people to be empowered so that they can change the course of their generation. And so that's how the name of the business came to me.
So awesome. That's so awesome. Like, when I think about that story and I think about my life, I have to be honest. Like, you know, there was one post that you made, because I'll be looking at them posts, chat. They be resonating. One post that you made one time, it was asking about, what is your family legacy? Like, what do you were asking specific questions. I can't remember what it was, but surrounding the idea of, how do you see your family legacy? Like, what legacy do you want to create? And I really had to sit there and think about that, because, you know, it's very, very easy as like moms and busy people, entrepreneurs, whatever, to just get caught up in the routine of life. And you sometimes don't even consider, what is this all for? Like, what am I doing? And how can I be more intentional, you know, to create the path for my family that I want that I wish to see. And I know, like, the part that you just shared about what we do today shapes the next generation and generations to come. It is so true, because we see and recognize the trauma gets passed down through the generations. But then, for me, as an overcomer of the trauma that I've experienced, I have to then ask myself, okay, I know what I've experienced. My thing is, I know what I don't want to repeat. Mm-hmm. But how then do I decide upon and make intentional steps to create a new kind of experience for my family and for the generations to come after me? Yeah. And it's like, how can you kind of walk us through a process of what that would look like when you first come to a point of saying, I know what I don't want to repeat from the past. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I decide on making those intentional steps of creating a new? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think one of the first steps, Erica, is having an awareness and an understanding that you do have the ability to make a change. Because I heard what you were just saying, and how sometimes you feel like we're just living a life. Like sometimes you get stuck in survival mode for so long, you start to think that life is just happening to you. And you got to change. We get the opportunity to change that mindset and realize that, no, life is not happening to me. I'm happening to life. And that I have options. Like I can do something. I can be empowered to change my life. And it really is about making a decision about what you want to be and how you want to be. And so one of the first steps in doing that is that awareness. And then I think sometimes you got to take a step backwards. And you got to get a sense of, where am I coming from? What have I experienced? And that helps you to understand where you are and be able to extend yourself that grace that you need to pull yourself out of that place, and then to begin to actually start dreaming again. Because when you're in survival mode, what happens to your brain is that it just shuts down. Like all of your energy, when you're in survival mode, all your energy goes to literally just keeping you alive. Yeah. Not thinking, not being creative, not problem solving, literally just staying alive. And so pulling yourself out of that place requires, number one, for you to take care of yourself, meet those basic needs in terms of, let me just make sure that I'm safe. And then once you feel safe enough, your brain will automatically go to, how do I become better now? Not just surviving, but now how do I thrive? And a part of that is actually you being able to sit down and dream again with God. And so, God, what is, when you created me, like I really believe this. I believe that before the foundations of the world, like God had this business meeting. Him, like the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and the Father, they was all in there having a business meeting, right? And they said that I have a purpose on earth, and I want this particular person to solve this particular problem. And so he was very strategic in making us, including how we look. All of that was strategized from the beginning of time. And so in order to kind of get back into alignment with that, I believe that you got to go back to your creator, your source, and say, okay, when you guys were having that business meeting, God, what did you have in mind for my part in this earth? Like, what did you have in mind? And so you just getting quiet with God and asking him that question, he will begin to reveal that to you. This is what I had in mind for you, my dear. And so then you begin to kind of allow yourself to dream with God, and God will he can show you how to make it happen. And so then you take what you see in your vision and your mindset, you take all of that, and then you begin to put legs on it. And then that is, how do I now rehabilitate my life? It's by finding out, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And then you just put legs on it.
Oh, this is why I wanted to have you on here. You just taught a full masterclass in a Like, I literally had to grab a pen because I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to change.
You have the ability. You have the ability. Like you do not, like, I say this, I feel like I say it so often. Like we do not have to stay the same. Like we get to make a different choice. You just make it, and then the thing is, like, we think that, well, what if I'm not perfect when I make that choice? You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to be scared. You're going to be nervous. It's going to feel not familiar. It's going to feel ugly. Like, all of that stuff is going to come up. But then what you got to do is say, you know what? I am committed to the change that I've decided on. So that's another step in that whole process of rehabilitating your life. You got to decide that this is what I'm going to do.
And then stay right there for 1 second, please. You're so full of this goodness. But you saying, because to me, that experience of making the decision to change, it feels wrong.
It feels so wrong. It feels so wrong. Yes. It feels so wrong, but it is oh so right.
And it's like, you have to trust yourself through that process of, okay, this feels foreign. Mm-hmm. This is not my norm. Mm-hmm. This is very unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. It's going to require me to actually shift my mindset and stick to this thing because I believe this is what's best for me right here, right now. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes it's so much internal conflict with that thing because it's like, we like to stay in the pattern of what we are used to, what we've always done. And sometimes life and God calls you up higher. Mm-hmm. Okay, now here's the next level. But this is what I require of you. And it's like, okay, that's different. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's totally not anything I've ever done before. Mm-hmm. It feels like, man, can I do this? And I love that the first thing you said was empowering us to know that we have the ability to change. Mm-hmm. Then you said something that I thought was so key. You said, giving yourself grace. Mm-hmm. Talk about that, please, because I know you preach grace.
I am a grace girl, because I think that we have a tendency to think that in order to change our life, in order to get to where we want to be, we got to inflict ourselves with pain. Like, we got to punish ourselves in order to get to where we need to be. But what we don't understand is that punishing yourself actually, here's the thing about, like, we have this brain, and I say this all the time. We have this brain. You know, I love talking about our brain. We have this brain. Our brain's job is to keep us alive and to keep us safe. And if we don't feel anything that is foreign to our experience, our brain equates that to being a threat. Mm-hmm. So when you try to change, your brain is like,
right.
We not changing. We like it. It's comfortable.
Right.
I know what to expect. So your brain fights you to change because it's foreign, so it thinks that you are in trouble. Mm. And so when and if you are trying to inflict yourself with punishment in order to change, what it actually does to your brain is sends your brain back into survival mode.
Jesus.
And so it actually, you think that it's moving you forward, but it's actually moving you backwards. It's getting you back into a place where you feel helpless, where you feel like you've got to protect yourself in some way. And so the way that you get around that is by showing yourself grace, because grace enables you and helps you to feel safe enough so that you can access the parts of your brain that you need to strategize, to plan, to problem solve, all those things that you need to move yourself forward in your life. You cannot do it if you're in survival mode. And so grace is important because it unlocks a part of your brain that enables you to move yourself forward.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay.
I love talking about the brain, girl. Don't get me started.
Listen,
it's so important.
It is.
It's how God created us.
And then we're like, we reach these points in our journey, and it's like, okay, what is going on with me? What is happening here? Mm-hmm. And we need that information to help us. Yes, honey. Not right now. Can you go back in the room like I asked you? Thank you, baby. I'm almost finished, okay? Children, gotta love them.
Gotta love them.
But I was going to ask you, is there such a thing as giving yourself too much grace?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line between grace and discipline? Because that's where I'm at, Taisha. Let's talk about that part.
Yeah, grace and discipline. So I love this. So I think it's important to remember that the same grace that pulls you out of a situation is the same grace that empowers you to move forward. So empowers you to be disciplined. So it's kind of the same thing. It's the same grace, excuse me. It's the same grace. So let's say, for instance, I have a workout goal because, I'm on this fitness journey. So let's say, for instance, I'm on my fitness journey and I totally messed up. And I'm like, man, I suck because I messed up. I ain't gonna ever get this right. Yada, 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 right? So I need in that moment to give myself grace and extend myself the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm human. Okay. And so that grace pulls me out of that I'm a failure mentality. So that pulls me out. Right. So then now I have to become disciplined to get myself back on track. So then in this space where I'm giving myself grace, now I need the grace to look differently. So now the grace is not about pulling me out. The grace is now about pulling me forward. And so you just shift it, but you're still relying on the same grace. And the grace comes from, the discipline part comes from identifying what your values are. Because remember, in the beginning, you made that decision. This is what I'm doing. So that decision, your goals, your values are what you're now trying to make sure that you stay in alignment with. And so once you identify that and you say, I've made this decision, now I have something to apply the grace to. So the grace pulled me away from that beating myself up. And now my values, my goals are here. And so now the grace is going to pull me towards my goal. But it's still the same grace. And so that means that the grace helps you to be disciplined because you're keeping in front of you the goals that you have. But it's still the same grace.
That's good. I think of it like, I can be my own worst enemy a lot of times, and especially when it comes to things that I've committed myself to, and recognizing what I hold. What you just say, like the values. What are your values? What happens for me is what has always it might be totally wrong, but what has worked for me, usually most of the times in my life, is I'll just go full force into a thing, and then I get it done, and I get like this huge rush of like excitement and like, this is so great. And then after a while, my brain is like, I'm kind of off that a little bit. I want to do something else. But then I'm like, but no, girl, you said you was going to do this. Let's do this. And then it's like, sometimes what happens is, in order for what I'm recognizing, I have to slow down.
Absolutely.
I have to slow down.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it hurts because in my mind, I'm doing the things. I'm doing all the things. I'm doing them well. I'm doing them right here and right now. And then I look at my life and I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated. I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do anything at this point because I put so much pressure on myself to accomplish whatever, to perform and execute on these things. And then it's like, how do I make this work for me? How do I make these goals realistic for my actual life? It's like I have to sit with myself sometimes and be like, okay, what's not working here? Because I don't like these. I usually identify what's not working based on how I'm feeling.
Absolutely.
In with myself and be like, okay, you're exhausted. Why? And I have to back up and reverse engineer how I got there. Mm-hmm. I'm exhausted because I told myself I wanted to do 1 million things today, and I got to 999, and then realized, oh, that was too much. Let's not do that much again. But then I have to fight my mind, my mental process that says you're a failure if you don't accomplish the 1 million things.
And that's the thing right there. We have to remember, what is our jobs? The job of our brain, keep us alive and to keep us safe. And so if you create a system where you're doing 1,000,001 different things and it's really unrealistic and you really just can't accomplish it because you're human. Mm-hmm. And then you find yourself failing, mm-hmm. then your brain is going to say that, oh, I'm threatened now. Because that's the message that it gets because you are quote unquote failing. And so I always say that if you find yourself in that pattern of doing too much, finding out that maybe I was doing too much and then so you couldn't keep it up, that means that your brain is telling you something. And that is that you need to go smaller. Go smaller.
Love, talk about that, please, because I know that that's something you do.
I say it all the time, go smaller, because when you go smaller, you take smaller steps, meaning that you take smaller chunks. You can have the same goal. I'm not saying don't have big goals. What I'm saying is that when you have the big goals, you break it down into smaller chunks that are more realistic for where you are right now in your journey. Because what that teaches your brain, what the message that your brain gets is that, number one, I can do this. You build your confidence. You celebrate yourself. And that is so when you celebrate yourself, you send reward. Like we have these reward centers in our brain. And when you accomplish something, you get that little hit of the feel-good chemicals. And so then your brain is like, let's do that again. That felt good, right? That felt really good. So let's do that again. And so that's your natural motivation kicking in because you took it smaller and then you allow the way that our bodies are created. Brain is a part of our body. So the way that our bodies are created, you allow that process to make it work for you. So I always say go smaller so that you can allow that process to take place in your life. And then not saying cut your goals down, just cut them down into smaller steps for yourself.
Okay, here's a real question.
Mm-hmm.
What if you automatically feel like a failure because you're only attacking it little by little?
Yeah, that's real. That's real. That's real. That's real. So we all have these inner vows. We all have these inner thoughts, these core beliefs that are formed based on how we were raised.
The core beliefs, child.
Our core beliefs that we just can't get around. Like you cannot get around what you believe. What you believe is what's guiding your life. The Bible even tells us that, right? What we believe guides our life. And so if you find that you experience a sense of failure, if you're not doing the most, then you're going to have to look back at where did I get that core belief from that I needed to do the most? Who communicated that to me? When did that become the norm for me?
Who affirmed that behavior?
Yes. And when you do that work to be able to identify, sometimes, like some of my clients, let me tell you, when we do that work in therapy, some of my clients realize that they got their mama's voice in their head, their abusive boyfriend's voice in their head, they got their high school teacher in their head, they got the little boy in the playground from when they was 5 years old in their head.
It's so real.
Because we have these experiences, and based on the experience that we had, it forms a thought. And what happens is that we have that thought formed in our mind, and then we begin to weigh ourselves against it. And the more and so we make it it becomes a core thought, because sometimes life will sometimes affirm or validate the belief that we had.
All the time.
All the time.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that it's true. What it means is that our brain, the way that our brain is set up, it pays more attention to the negative than it pays to the positive. Why is that? Because our brains are meant to keep us alive and to keep us safe. So your brain pays more attention. It defaults to the negative because it needs to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And so you have to recognize that you're going to pay more attention to the negative. And so then that means that you have to make sure that on a regular basis that you're thinking about what you're thinking, so that if you have a tendency to fixate on the negative, that you can bring your mind back to what you actually want to think, that you can confront those core beliefs that you have from when you were 5 years old, and it's still guiding how you live your life. You got to confront it. And so if you find that pattern in your life, that means that you have some thoughts that you got to confront, because the thoughts that you believe in your core are just not working for you anymore. And that's fine. Like, all of our life, we should be confronting thoughts. All of our life.
Okay, but this is the thing. I was having a conversation, a very vulnerable conversation with someone you and I both know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to her, and because she pinpointed this thing, a pattern that she sees or saw in me, and she vocalized it. And when she said it, it was kind of like I saw everything that she was communicating, in that I feel like, or have felt like, because I've been making changes, very little changes here and there, but I have felt constantly triggered, constant triggers, like in my thought process. Every time I try to do something, it's like I go through this whole mental storm and like turmoil of all these thoughts that I have to reverse, and trying to sit in how I'm feeling, and trying to like change, like shift the way that I used to think, and all this different stuff. And I'm like, can I just breathe and be a person and not have to like deal? Because you just said all of our lives we have to learn to confront these things.
And it's exhausting, isn't it?
It is.
It's so exhausting.
This can't be life. Like, I can't constantly, like, I'm journaling, and I'm like, the capacity, the amount of what I'm dealing with internally feels sometimes insurmountable. Like, okay, I'm going to shut off emotionally. I'm just going to shut off me as a person and just go into do mode. I'm just going to do. I'm not going to be right now. I have to like allow myself times to just be like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm going to sit here, and I'm just going to try to find some comfort in this moment. Yeah. My brain was just in overdrive for the 2 hours, and I feel exhausted and depleted. And I have to like allow myself that time, because otherwise I'll go into a depressive mode, and then I'll just be totally withdrawn. And I don't like that. But then I also feel like, girl, life is happening. You gotta live. You gotta just be sitting there. And it's like, man. But what I wanted to really make sure that I spoke out today, talking with you, was something that you said once, and it penetrated my heart. And I was like, Taisha is amazing. You said, we are allowed to honor our experiences. Yeah, we are. To honor our experiences. Yeah. And the fact that you worded it like we get to have the privilege and the opportunity. Absolutely. Can you talk about that, please, Taisha?
You know, I love that you brought that up, because I say that grace, and honor yourself. I say it almost every day. And it's so important. And it's important, Erica, because it is so important, because a part of this journey is the fact that we are humans on a journey. and we change daily. And you're absolutely right. Having to confront so much of our thoughts and our past and all that stuff, it is exhausting. But here is the thing. If we are honoring ourselves, a part of honoring ourselves is recognizing that me being human and having to confront my thoughts and having to do all this work, not judging it, so it's not the experience of having to do the work that is sometimes the issue. It is the judgment that we feel towards ourselves because we have to do the work. Because we have a tendency to think that I'm the only one.
That's so good.
No, I'm the only one. I'm messed up. I'm broken. Everybody else is perfect and fixed and powerful and strong. They ain't never been through nothing. When that is a total lie from the pits of hell. That is a lie that the enemy uses to keep you in condemnation. And so honoring yourself is just really sometimes honoring your humanity in the sense that I'm just like everybody else. And yeah, I'm on this journey, but I can learn to enjoy the journey. I remember when I was younger, when I did a lot of my work when I was like 20. I'm still doing a lot of the work, but the bulk of it, Erica, was when I was like 20 years, all of my 20s. And I remember like Joyce Meyer was my girl. And she taught me that I can be imperfect and still be perfect, still be good, still be happy on my journey, still enjoy this journey. Like I don't have to wait till I get to Z in order to be happy, in order to love myself, in order to love my life. Like I don't have to wait. I can love where I am now because I'm whole and I'm complete. I am okay now. So she taught me that in my 20s, and I always hold on to that. And that is a part of honoring yourself, being able to recognize that I don't have to judge myself because I'm on this journey, because it's not about the fact that I'm on this journey. It's about the fact that I'm judging myself because I'm on the journey, because I think I'm by myself. I think nobody else is doing it. That's why we feel the discomfort. That's why we feel the pain. It's because of the judgment. But if you let go of the judgment, you'll be okay. If you let go of the judgment and you say, I'm on a journey like everybody else, you won't feel the discomfort. You'll be like, okay, I'm good. I'm just like everybody else. So just let go of the judgment that you hold against yourself, that you should be this way. You could have been this way if. You would have been this way if. Let that go. Let it go.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That was another thing I wrote down that I wanted to mention. We judge our experiences. That's something that I heard. We judge our experiences. I love that you like encompass it by saying our experiences. Mm-hmm. Like you give a good frame, a visual frame of how we operate. Like we're allowed to honor our experiences and we shouldn't judge them. Like experiences is just fully encompasses everything. And it's like, I love that you frame it that way. It's just so empowering. It's ever since the first time I heard you say that, it stuck with me. Like it is part of me now. Because I look at myself and I say, oh, you judging your experience, girl.
And you don't get to do. It's just not helpful. It's just not helpful to do that. It's not helpful. And so just fixate on what was the lesson. Like find the treasure. What is the treasure that you can get out of the experience? What is the treasure?
You know what? The way that you approach life, it's like, how do I want to say? It's like totally new to me. Like the way your outlook is toward life is like, I didn't realize that life could be like that.
Yeah.
Like
and you know what? You know where that comes from? Number one, God, Joyce Meyer, Miles Monroe. Now, but it comes from the fact that I was depressed and suicidal. And if I didn't shift that mindset, then I probably would have killed myself. I was the one praying, God, just take me out. I just rather just not even be here because it is exhausting. And I'm just not happy. I don't know. So a lot of times when people are suicidal, they're not suicidal because they want to die. They're suicidal because they don't know how to live. They don't know how to be here and endure everything they have to endure. And it feels hopeless. It feels like, what's the point? I have some moms that I talk to that the only reason that they're here is because of their kids. Because if I leave, if I tap out, then who's going to take care of my kids? They need me. And that breaks my heart so much.
Right.
That breaks my heart so much. And so it's not that people actually don't want to die. They just want to know how to live. And the way that you live is by shifting your mindset and stop, and I can't say this enough, really just stop judging yourself and stop judging your experiences. Learn the lessons that you have to learn, show yourself the grace, and then just move forward. Don't stay stuck in the past. And I remember there have been times that I've been stuck. Sometimes I am still stuck, if I were to be honest. But then some days I wake up and I'm like, you know what? Let me get myself back on track. Let me grab a hold to that grace that moves me forward. And that's what we need to do in order to get back in alignment with our goals. That's all we need to do.
So does that go in line with developing and cultivating your family legacy?
Absolutely. Number one, our kids, especially if you're a mama like me, our kids need to see us doing that for ourselves. Can we I want all of us to the things that we're talking about tonight, can we normalize it?
Please, Lord.
Can we normalize it in our families?
Yes.
That when we mess up, because we will, that we give ourselves grace, that we give other people grace, that we can just get back in alignment at any time, that life is not happening to us, we're happening to life. Can we normalize that? And if we normalize it, then our kids begin to do it, and then they teach their kids. And look, we didn't impact generations. Because we took the time to work on ourselves. That's what legacy is about. Legacy is not just the cars that you leave behind. It's not the money that you leave behind. It's the mindsets that you leave behind. That's what legacy is. Legacy is, can I teach you how to pray? My daughter, my son? That's what legacy is. How you live your life, how you function in life is your legacy. That's your legacy. Teaching all of this that we teach our kids is not just the money; it's the mindsets that is the legacy.
So good, Taisha. Listen, when you were sharing that, I had a memory pop up. I had just got cut open after having my twins. My very first pregnancy. I'm in the hospital by myself. And I'm laying there, body cut open, totally vulnerable. And during the surgery, they had to put me under. But before they put me under, I remember calling out to God, because that was my only hope. I cried out to God and I said, God, please don't let me die on this table. And I thought about my babies, right? And I felt like, up to that point, my life had been complete devastation, right? And I felt like the only hope I had was these babies. I was like, in that moment, I said to myself, God, because I wasn't even close to God like I felt like I had been before. And I was like, I know the choices I've made, and I know there's a ways for me to go. But if you will accept me right here, and right now, please allow me the opportunity to change the trajectory of my bloodline. And to live as the mother you've called me to be. Because here we are. Here I am. with these new lives in the world. And I get to have a new one too.
Yeah.
This is the new life. This is it. It's beginning here right now. And it was such a transitional moment for me because number one, he promised those children to me years prior to them being born. So that was me saying, wow, God is actually with me because he told me this was going to happen.
Wow.
And this is like solidifying that God is with me and I'm with him. We're going to rock this thing out.
Yeah.
Where I felt totally lonely at the lowest point, I had nobody but me and God in that house. Wow. And I'm crying out to God and I'm saying, God, we're going to do this. Yeah. Like, we are doing this because what I'm not going to do is allow what has happened to me to be their testimony.
Yeah.
It stops here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I had to make some firm, hard decisions, but I promise you, as far as creating boundaries with everyone, I had to reassess, realign, and really make some firm decisions on, I'm not allowing this in my life. Yeah. I'm not allowing this behavior. I'm not allowing you to speak to me this way because these are new lives. Yeah, and I have a new life too. Yeah. And in this new life, this is how it's going to go. Yeah. So y'all are going to learn how to operate in my world because these are the boundaries that I'm creating. Yeah. Like I had never had boundaries before, so I was letting people do whatever, say whatever. Wow. And since that moment, the manifestation of those decisions has blessed me. If I talk about it anymore, I'm going to cry. Because just today at the grocery store, I got 3 kids with me. I call them my babies because they're my babies. You know, I hear a lot of times, and it honestly touches my heart every time. When people see me out with my children, they don't see the person that I would see. The broken Erica who ain't got no mama to show her how to do. You know what I'm saying? All of these things, the experiences I've had that make me feel unqualified, that make me feel like, what am I doing? Oh my God, I'm totally overwhelmed. They don't see that. The people, when they see me with my children, they always say, wow, I can tell you're a great mom.
Yeah, that's so good.
You see that?
That's so good.
You see that?
Good. Yeah.
But it's like, that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you because I've been doing some personal work and to be able to see it play out and manifest and for other people to witness it and affirm that that's actually what's happening. Because it's like, as the person, sometimes you're like, I know I'm doing stuff, but is it really making a difference? Like, is what I'm doing, is it actually real? Yeah. And so I definitely want to talk to you about family legacy. I definitely want to talk about honoring our experiences, not judging our experiences. Because even I feel like as moms, we can be so hard on ourselves, so down on ourselves. And I'm only year 4, almost 5 in. And I've gone through so many different iterations of my motherhood. Yeah. Even now, and you know, I have a 2-year-old. He just turned 2. And it's like that was a new experience. Having another child, and oh my God, how is this going to work? And it's like I feel like as moms, you know, I have mom friends, and a lot of times they're judging their experiences, judging their motherhood. And I'm like, you know what? First of all, since I've been acquainted with you, I preach grace now. I'm like, girl, them kids will be all right. Them kids will be all right. You're going to be all right. Let's go to sleep. Let's reset. We're going to make some red tomorrow. You know, but I don't even know why I went into all that, but I just felt compelled to share about just a part of my journey of family legacy, learning how to honor my experience. I wanted to mention one thing before we go, because I wrote down, when you were speaking, I was like, oh, that's good. Feeling safe. You said you have the ability to change give yourself grace, get to a place where you feel safe enough. So can you share about how to create a safe environment for yourself to be able to process and grow?
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a good question. So here we go with the brain, right? And so we have these experiences throughout our lives. Some of the experiences are not safe, and that's how trauma develops. But some of the experiences are very safe. I'll give you an example of a safe experience that you can sometimes call on in order to help yourself in a moment of crisis. Like, let's say, for instance, you had a mom. You talked about your mom. Let's say your mom was like your safe person, and she would give you this look, or she would cook this meal. So we experience the world through our five senses. That's how we experience the world. And so let's say, for instance, your mom cooked this meal, or she had this look, or she had this perfume on, and you remember it, right? You remember it, and when you remember it, you feel safe. You feel safe. And so a part of creating safety for you in the now could be remembering things that made you feel safe back then. For example, when your mom looked at you, you felt really loved. And so now when you see that look in someone else's eyes, it helps you to feel safe. So for you, that safety could be surrounding yourself with people that kind of give you that same connection. If, for example, there are sometimes safe words, there are safe touches, there are safe smells. When I smell apple pie, I think about family because my grandma always made apple pie. That's just an example. So whenever I smell apple pie, I go and I just feel family oriented. I feel safe. That's what I feel because that's what my brain has paired. So it becomes about what connections has your brain made because of the experiences that you had. And how can you draw on those experiences to bring them back into the now to help you when you're feeling in crisis or when you're feeling like you're in survival mode. That's what safety looks like. It's kind of grounding yourself in the present, but it's also creating or reduplicating or duplicating those moments for yourself in the now. And that's what creates safety. And sometimes people can do it for you, with you. Sometimes you do it through prayer and with God, and sometimes you got to do it alone. And you have to, in our job, our responsibility is to work with ourselves long enough to know what helps us to feel safe. And then we get this tool belt. We create a tool belt for ourselves. And we put all those things that we know work in that tool belt. And then in those moments of crisis, we say, okay, I know this works for me. Let me try this. But like when you garden, like you can't always use the hand rake because it's not going to help that job, right? So you might need to go pull on something else. That's the same thing with your safety tool belt. You just keep trying and see what works for in that moment to help you to bring yourself back into the now. But safety is all about helping you connect with and become aware of where you are right now, as opposed to living in the past or living in the future, because that's not what safety is for you. And most times when we are experiencing trauma, it's because we're trying to seek safety. And if you're trying to seek safety, then you have to kind of have an idea of what helps you to feel safe, what you might be running from or what you might be running to, and giving yourself that in grace.
Preached on here, Taisha. Preached a good message. One thing. So you were talking about grounding ourselves in how we experience life through the five senses. Mm-hmm. And so, we have a sis, Sharon Fletcher.
Oh my God. Look, watch this.
Listen, look, I got the collection, honey.
But you see, I have a hot mess with Sharon Fletcher's candles. Just right here on the desk. I ground myself with her candles.
Listen, it's so vital to me, and my well-being, because having that fragrance, it just balances me. It puts me at peace. I can think more clearly. I feel safe. That's a part of creating a safe environment for myself.
Yeah.
So there's in those moments where I feel hyped up, where I feel like overly emotional, or I feel like overwhelmed, I'm like, let me burn this candle real quick.
Absolutely. And then I have my trusty, like, this is another one of my little go-tos, my diffuse. Like, I love diffusers. So I put my little oils in here, and it really does make a difference. It really makes a difference to help to ground you. It really does.
But I wanted to share this one thing. So when we went to the retreat in the mountains, and we took Sharon's candle making class, it was so, the full retreat experience was life-changing.
It really was. It was amazing.
And so I wanted to take away, I knew I was taking the candle home, but I wanted to really solidify that experience with a tangible object. So, you know, Taisha gave us the mugs with our names on it, so I don't drink out of it because it's sacred to me. But for the candle that I made, I was like, I want to honor this experience, and I want to have a unique memory to cherish this and remember this with. And so she gave us the opportunity to label our own candles. And so I labeled mine Breakthrough, Acceptance, and Healing.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Really spoke to that experience I had in the mountains.
Wow.
And so when I burn this candle, it just means so much to me.
That's your safety.
I get to like put it up here, and I get to just zen out in that moment and remember those memories, like how you're saying, safe memories that we've had. It's like I get to just like have that moment for myself.
That's so good.
And I recommend that for anyone who is like me. You're busy, you're doing a lot of stuff, and you just need sometimes personal quiet time to just get back to yourself and sit down and dream again with God, like how you did. You done gave us all the goodies. I'm so grateful for you. Sit down and dream again with God. I would recommend Refreshing Moments with Sharon Candles.
Yes, please. It is.
I love it. Taisha, I just want to thank you and give you the opportunity to share everything that you're doing, because you're on the move, you are doing the thing. So tell us what you got going on.
Girl, it's a lot. Just go to www.rehabilitateyourlife.com. I launched one of my favorite things that I'm doing this year is a mommy mentoring program for new moms, old moms, moms of multiples, married moms, single mom. I don't care. If you're a mom and you need support, all the moms, let's get you a mentor, a mommy mentor, someone that you can connect with on a personal level and develop just a relationship with that can maybe help carry you through life. And so I developed it because there was this young lady that died by suicide, and she reached out on Facebook, and like she made so many posts on Facebook, and nobody heard her. And I just said, this is, mommying is hard. Mommying is hard. It's hard when you don't have the support. It's hard when you have the support. And so why not give another resource to a mom? And so this is another resource for moms. I don't care what kind of mom you are. Come and get some support in the form of a mommy mentor. So I'm doing that. That launches in February. I have a couple of things going on. So if you want to just connect and see what's all going on, all things rehabilitating your life, www.rehabilitateyourlife, or on Instagram or Facebook, Rehabilitate Your Life.
I love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love, like, you be speaking my language. I'm in full support of everything you're doing. I'm going to be promoting you because your work is so real. It's so purposeful. It's so intentional. And you are this work. Like, you as the person and the vehicle.
Oh.
Spreading all that lovely goodness all throughout the land. So I'm so excited for everything that you're doing. Truly, truly, truly grateful that you would grace our presence today. Your amazingness. Thank you so much. This is going to be very memorable for me. Even though this is recorded, I'm still going to go back and review everything that you...
Girl, you done put me up. I'm going to be smiling tonight. You done put my head up so much. I'm about to go deflate this hair of mine that you done put me up with.
Please.
Now, really, I said it when we started this talk, but God doesn't waste experiences. And I'm really grateful to God that I've been on this journey. He's been helping me, and there's some treasure in everything that I've been through. And I am grateful for God for just being on this journey with me. And I'm fine. I'm kind of happy that now that I'm finding out that there is some treasure, because you know what? It ain't been easy. So praise God that somebody got something out. Somebody else is getting something out of this, because it has not been easy. So praise God for the treasure.
Praise God for the treasure. That's my testimony. Praise God that somebody can gather something from anything that I'm putting out, because it has not been easy. But God always has had a purpose. Like you said, and that was like, I'm going to her here, and I'm going to have these things happen, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to get the glory, and it's going to bless all the people. So thank you for blessing the people today, Taisha.
Yes. Woo, woo. And I love everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for all of your support and being, like, this is my art person. I'm like, hey, can you help me with that? So I really appreciate everything that you're doing as well. And I love that we are in each other's lives. I love it. So thank you so much.
Oh, love you. All right. We'll talk soon, Taisha. Y'all, thanks for joining another episode of Epiphanies with Erica podcast. We're going to get this thing rolling. It's going to be once a month, because your girl got a lot going on. But go back and listen to the replay, y'all. So many jewels, so much treasure was shared here today. So I'm going to be rewatching over and over and over, just so I can absorb it all. But you guys, have a great evening. I'll catch up with you soon about whatever it is I'm creating, because your girl stays busy. So you guys, stay in tune with me. Stay in tune with Taisha. Rehabilitate your life on all platforms and .com. All right. Talk soon, Taisha.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.